the biggest props of the night goes to Terence Crawford, who did not disappoint. He was supposed to be the smaller man. He was supposed to be the weaker man. He was supposed to be the man that was going to spend the entire night on his bicycle, running for his damn life because Saul Canelo Alvarez was coming his way. That is not what happened. What happened instead, ladies and gentlemen, was a masterclass in boxing.
Stephen A. Smith, the man who never hesitates to give a hot take, found himself in the middle of one of boxing's most shocking nights.
Had a great fifth round, and Terence Crawford knew he had to make a stand in this sixth round. That shot got Canelo's attention as Crawford's back was against the ropes. It's a good shot from Crawford, and that shot and that exchange allowed him to box the way.
After Terence "Bud" Crawford dismantled Canelo Alvarez in a fight that had the entire world watching, Smith's reaction wasn't just animated, it was revealing. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, because this is going to be a good one. And I once again have to ask, seriously, as we break this down, was this the night Crawford cemented himself as boxing's pound-for-pound king? Because while fans were still picking their jaws off the floor,
and even though this was his first fight at 168, and it was Canelo's 12th fight at 168, and the previous 11 fights at the 168-pound limit, Canelo Alvarez won all of those fights.
Stephen A. went on record with some surprisingly measured but powerful words. He gave Crawford his flowers, admitted he didn't expect to see him trade punches like that, and then, in typical Stephen A. fashion, dropped a comparison that instantly lit up the boxing world. Crawford versus Floyd Mayweather. This wasn't just any fight.
I'm not going for that. I'm not feeling that at all. It wasn't like that at all, okay? I had the fight 5-4 in favor of Terence Crawford after 9 rounds. It could have gone either way. And then he basically put on a boxing clinic over the last 3 rounds of the fight. And one rounds 10, 11, and 12. He used his jab. He kept his distance.
On one side stood Canelo Alvarez, the face of Mexican boxing, the pay-per-view juggernaut, and a man who had made a career out of breaking down elite opponents with relentless pressure and power. On the other side, Terence Crawford, a master technician, moving up in weight yet again, chasing the kind of legacy-defining victory that only comes once in a generation. The storylines were endless. Could Crawford's speed and ring IQ neutralize Canelo's size and strength? Would the smaller man get bullied under the bright lights of Las Vegas? Even the betting lines hinted at how rare this matchup was. Alvarez was the established king, but Crawford's reputation as a cerebral assassin made the outcome feel far from guaranteed. Still, few expected what unfolded. From the opening rounds, Crawford dictated the pace, slipping Canelo's power shots, countering with laser-sharp combinations, and showing no fear of exchanging in the pocket.
Because he gave the first to Crawford, which Crawford may have won with the only clean shot of the round. So far, because he gave the...
By the time the scorecards were read, fans weren't just stunned at the result. They were buzzing about the way it happened. And that's when the cameras found Stephen A. Smith speaking to Fight Hype moments after the final bell. Stephen A. made one thing clear. He wasn't shocked by the outcome itself. In fact, he admitted he had picked Crawford to win by decision going into the fight. But what did catch him off guard was how Crawford earned the victory. "I expected the boxing superiority," Smith said. "But what I didn't expect was for him to stand in there and exchange and survive."
Well, I appreciate Crawford making my prediction come through. Coming into the fight, I had him winning by decision. I thought he was the superior boxer. I thought he would be able to take a punch. And as long as he didn't stay there and exchange with Canelo, I thought he could do it. What surprised me is that there were times during the fight he did stand there.
He explained that most assumed Crawford would have to play it safe, using movement, defense, and slick counters to avoid Canelo's power. Instead, Crawford stepped into the fire. He traded punches, absorbed Canelo's best, and came out thriving. For Stephen A., that willingness to go toe-to-toe, combined with Crawford's technical brilliance, proved he wasn't just a slick boxer. He was a fighter's fighter, And that's why he deserves so much credit, Smith concluded, almost sounding more like a fan than a commentator.
No matter who he's going up against, no matter what power you have, what boxing skills you have, he is truly a generational kind of fighter. He wants to go in the ring and not just beat you, but show you.
But Stephen A. didn't stop there. Naturally, the question came up. Is Terence Crawford better than Floyd Mayweather? It's the kind of question that instantly sparks debate in barbershops, sports shows, and Twitter timelines. Smith didn't hesitate. He drew a clear distinction. "I'm not going to sit up here and say that," he said. To him, Mayweather was a defensive magician, a fighter who could dominate without ever letting opponents touch him. Crawford, on the other hand, proved something different, that he could take punches, bite down on his mouthpiece, and still control the fight. The difference, Stephen A. explained, is subtle, but important. With Floyd, you rarely saw him get hit cleanly. With Crawford, you saw him absorb shots, stand his ground, and still find a way to impose his will. That's the difference, Smith noted, a line that immediately set social media on fire. And if Stephen A.'s breakdown wasn't enough to spark debate, what came next from Canelo himself did just that. At the post-fight press conference, with bruises still fresh on his face,
if you can, compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence "Bud" Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Canelo Alvarez shocked the room. Asked about the inevitable Mayweather comparison, a man who had fought both legends didn't hesitate. "I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather." The words echoed across the boxing world. This wasn't a commentator talking or a fan hyping up the moment. This was the only fighter alive who had shared a ring with both men. And for him, the answer was clear. Crawford, in his eyes, surpassed Mayweather. It was the kind of statement that turns a historic fight into a generational debate. And Canelo wasn't alone. Other legends were already weighing in with their own takes. When a fight shakes the sport to its core, the reactions of fellow champions matter just as much as the result itself. And Crawford's win drew praise from legends across generations.
It was great.
Yeah.
That was a perfect fight, man.
Perfect fight from Crawford?
Yeah. You know, everybody made mistakes.
Yeah.
Everybody made mistakes. So
Evander Holyfield, the former undisputed heavyweight champion known as the Real Deal, didn't mince words. He called Crawford's performance a perfect fight. Coming from a man who went toe-to-toe with Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and countless others, that kind of praise carries weight. Holyfield stressed that perfection in boxing isn't about never getting hit. It's about executing your game plan so precisely that the opponent has no answers. And in his eyes, that's exactly what Crawford did. Then came Dmitry Bivol, the light heavyweight star who once handed Canelo a stinging defeat of his own. Watching from afar, Bivol highlighted the technical artistry on display. "Technique, skill, IQ, and power," he wrote, congratulating Crawford on a victory he described as fully deserved. For Bivol, this was proof that even at 37, Crawford had reached a level of mastery that few fighters ever touch.
A big fight. Crawford Canelo. Shout outs to Crawford. You did it, boy. You did it. For those who still aren't quite sure what they witnessed last night, I'm gonna let you know that you witnessed what is called a notorious boxing clinic. This is everything done right, okay?
And if fans needed it broken down in simple terms, former welterweight champion Keith Thurman delivered the play-by-play. Thurman labeled the fight a boxing clinic, detailing how Crawford froze Canelo with the jab, used the ring to force pivots, and struck with pinpoint precision.
First, he worked behind the jab, people. Boxing 101. Set your shots up behind the jab. Canelo froze up. He was able to minimize the pressure.
To Thurman, it was the purest definition of boxing, to hit and not be hit. That, he said, is everything done right. The consensus was undeniable. Legends, rivals, and analysts all agreed. This was Crawford at his absolute best, and maybe one of the finest performances boxing has seen in decades. But boxing is never just about the fight. It's about the spectacle, the money, and the drama that follows. And this upset lit a fire far beyond the ropes. Floyd Mayweather himself reminded everyone that his business instincts are just as sharp as his jab. Posting on social media, Mayweather showed off a bet slip, a cool $50,000 wager, on Crawford to beat Canelo. The payoff? $124,000. For Mayweather, it wasn't just a win in the sportsbook. It was a subtle reminder that even retired, he still sees things others don't.
I told you, motherfuckers. What did you just watch? I only speak the facts.
Then there was Oscar De La Hoya, who didn't waste a second throwing shade. With a smug "I told you" to his followers, De La Hoya claimed he had predicted Canelo's downfall all along. To him, Alvarez looked slow, past his best, and ripe for a loss. Fans saw it as classic De La Hoya versus Canelo tension bubbling to the surface again. And of course, Jake Paul had to chime in. The YouTube star turned boxer mocked Canelo online, calling him overrated and even clowning him for raising his hand after the fight, as if he'd won. It was pure internet trolling, but it added fuel to an already raging conversation about whether Canelo's reign at the top was officially over. The mix of money, petty rivalries, and viral insults gave the night an extra layer of drama. But just when fans thought the dust might settle, questions about Crawford's future began to stir. Terence Crawford is 38 years old. He's climbed weight classes, collected belts, and now taken out the face of boxing in dominant fashion. So the question lingers, what's left? At the post-fight press conference, Crawford himself didn't give a definitive answer. He hinted that retirement could be on the horizon, saying, "I've got to sit down with my team and we'll talk about it." It wasn't a farewell, but it wasn't a guarantee of a return either. Meanwhile, Turki Al-Sheikh, one of the most influential figures in global boxing promotion, poured gasoline on the fire by teasing a potential super fight. Crawford versus David Benavidez at 168 pounds. The idea instantly electrified fans online, but Crawford's trainer, Brian "Bomac" McIntyre, was quick to slam the brakes.
Benavidez can make 168. Maybe he has plans or ideas of maybe trying to match up Benavidez and Terence Crawford.
No,
there.
No, we ain't doing that fight.
Maybe planning on vacating the belts?
No, we ain't gonna vacate the belts. You know, we just gonna sit where we need to sit for a minute, and then, just like I said, get back in the gym and do our thing.
"No, I ain't doing that fight," he told reporters. For Bomac, the plan is to let Crawford rest, enjoy the victory, and only re-enter the ring if the circumstances make sense. That uncertainty leaves fans in limbo. Is this the pinnacle, Crawford's last masterpiece before walking away? Or will he chase one more legacy-defining fight to close the book on an already historic career? And through it all, we circle back to Stephen A. Smith. The man who prides himself on seeing through the noise predicted a Crawford win. But even he admitted he didn't expect the kind of dominance we witnessed.
Take one more.
For him to stop, reflect, and reevaluate what greatness means in boxing. That tells you just how seismic this night truly was. If even Stephen A. Smith was left reevaluating boxing greatness, then you know history was made. But now, the question passes to you. Did Terence Crawford just surpass Floyd Mayweather? Or is he still chasing the shadow of the undefeated king? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Listen, Floyd was the greatest in his era. I'm the greatest in my era. it ain't no need to compare me to Floyd or Floyd to me.
All right, guys, for the best updates on boxing news, moments, events, and actions, subscribe to Knockout Updates and turn on notifications to never miss out on quality content. And check out our other videos. Until next time, peace out.